Welcome to the Digital Marketing Insights podcast, brought to you by Brightside Digital.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to say we have Terry here today, who's a head of digital marketing. Terry, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Tom. And you?
Yeah, very good, buddy. Terry, we start off the same. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your career today, and your current work?
Yeah, so I probably came into marketing backwards and screaming, I would say. My passion in life earlier on was sport and journalism. So at the tender age of 12, I was lucky enough to be writing for the local newspaper on sport, and followed that through into college and loved it. Spent some time in the US and in different places around the world in that passion, and eventually wound my way into the Irish Examiner, where I was very fortunate. There was some great people there that helped me along the way. But I guess looking at that business and where it was going, we had our first child at the time, and my wife had our second child on the way. And she says, we got to move home to Donegal to Mammy. So at that time, there was very few jobs in Donegal, but I joined a company as I'd spent my later time in the Examiner trying to develop the website of it and looking at the analytics on the website. And joined, I was fortunate to be able to join a company doing data analysis in customer acquisition space. And fortunately, in that space, then I got a chance to grow a marketing team. And now we have, over the last 10 years or so, we've developed a second business with Tata Consultancy Services. And with TCS, we have over 50 people here in Ireland working in the marketing space across design, content, engagement, campaign, accessibility, data, full suite of services for internal agencies for large Fortune 50s and 500s to solve their digital problems. So I guess brought into it kicking and screaming, but loving it now.
Brilliant. And tell me a little bit more about that. So what would you see your main skill set now, and how, like, you're obviously overseeing quite a big operation. So how has your previous career helped with your current role?
Yeah, well, I think the previous career probably helped in trying to ask the right questions and try and understand the full story. So that's been a benefit. And then building human relationships with people, because no matter how big the work we're doing or what it's about, there's a lot of trust involved to drive an outcome. Yeah. So being able to have that interaction with multiple geographies, languages, cultures at the moment, and trying to spend that time learning who they are really matters, because then it leads to us here being able to be more effective in what we do, I think. And thankfully we've built great relationships with teams and companies all around the world, which has put us in a fortunate position where we're continuing to grow right now and growing internationally as well, with a number of locations around the world through Ireland as well, which is great.
Yeah. And for business owners or kind of marketers, maybe strategic marketers that would be listening, what would you say is your go-to data and analytics? What kind of factors are you looking for to enhance and push a business forwards?
Yeah, so I think the problem that people probably make first is trying to apply data without trying to understand why. So data as an expertise on its own is good. When you mix it with other expertise, it becomes brilliant. So design-led solutions, I feel, are probably the best way to approach a problem. And by design-led, that means going in and trying to understand the full challenge, creating those MVPs if required, testing it in the marketplace, understanding how effective that's going to be, setting controls in place for that, understanding the accessibility challenges, the cultural challenges in different geographies of trying to roll a brand out across several countries at the one time, trying to understand your target market, and who that target market is and what's important to them. And having the data team involved at that stage helps them immediately understand what the KPIs and critical success measures should be, and then allows them to be, I think, optimized in a way that doesn't really happen in many places, where you can be fully aware of what the business potential is here and measure it in a way that proves it and empowers the data team to not just measure it, but then to look towards the future in terms of how can data help solve this business challenge. The KPIs just aren't there. They won't be there by solving it in this particular way. So how can data help us come in and transform the entire process or the entire technology background to this, or even the people within a company, so that it drives a better outcome for that company?
Is there any go-to factors? Like, is there anything that you see as a constant in the data side of things that could anyone listening could apply to their business and say, oh, I need to check out, lifetime value, or is there any key metrics that you would say to anyone, okay, these are the ones I would keep an eye on?
I think that's the trick. People sometimes try and think that there's one single thing that they can apply to everything. And really what we've found with the variety of businesses we're working with and the variety of business challenges they're trying to solve is, there may be some similarities, but really what is that business trying to achieve? Yeah. So typically the businesses we're working with have large data sets, and legacy data sets and new data sets, multiple variations of technology pulling data in, but no real understanding or way to amplify that data to really provide value at a given time. So it might be happening in pockets, but is it happening across the board? Yeah. The one thing that we're seeing that everyone is really talking about and trying to achieve right now is the customer data platforms. So essentially, a place where the right data is captured in the right way so that decisions can be made to benefit that customer and benefit the business. Yeah. And how that's linked to, like, I've been listening to the podcast since you asked me on, and it's great to hear some of the challenges that teams are facing at different places, but I think how that's linked then towards social media or email or the website, as opposed to driving the website first and then looking at how you would build a CDP into that, how your call center activity, how your customer servicing activity is linked to retention of customers, and how it can actually impact acquisition of customers as well. The ability to cross-sell, upsell within the markets all comes from that CDP and the insights that's able to drive you. And that's why I think each business has its own goals and its own targets within there. So it isn't an off-the-shelf solution that you're looking for in that space. You're really looking for something that's bespoke to a business that can drive real value to that business.
What do you do when you feel stuck as an entrepreneur?
There's one thing every single entrepreneur eventually finds out.
And that's that being an entrepreneur is hard.
That's why I've combined my most successful business strategies and some of my biggest failures to help you get started or get to that next level as an entrepreneur. I'm Devin, and this is the Whiteboard Entrepreneur Podcast, where I give straightforward advice to fuel the entrepreneur in all of us. This is real, practical business advice
without any fluff.
This is the Whiteboard Entrepreneur Podcast. Subscribe today to succeed as an entrepreneur at home and in life.
Brilliant. So for listeners, to summarize, you would say identify really good CRMs or systems that are relevant to their industry from the get-go. So you're collecting the correct data to market out from there.
Exactly.
Brilliant. And Terry, is there any particular campaigns or successes that you've had maybe previously in your career that you want to share with us? Something that would add value?
Yeah, I'll go to the cheesiest one first, which we ran a campaign, soup to nuts, including the digital signage. And it was the digital signage part that I really loved, but it was digital signage in Times Square, New York. And we had a live camera on it. And I just thought, like, really, it wasn't the most technically challenging project. It wasn't the toughest project to do. It didn't have the biggest outcome, but at the same time, it was a group of people in Donegal running a digital signage offering in Times Square, and I just thought that was kind of cool for us.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like a bucket list thing for a business
Yeah.
to have their signage on Times Square. It's just one of those iconic things, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. We've had other ones as well. In Indonesia, we ran a campaign for high net wealth asset individuals, and we had a 98, 99% conversion rate on it. It was fantastic, and we learned some amazing things along the way.
Wow.
In terms of how we were learning about the customer and how that customer, in one of the advertising campaigns that we had were washing a car, and we were told immediately by the people on the ground, these customers don't wash their own cars, you know.
Yeah.
So we learned so much along the way. And then in Taiwan, we did a great earned media campaign where we were working with a customer who was probably 20th in the marketplace, didn't have a big budget, but needed to improve what they were doing. So we looked at earned media as being the best way to solve that, and the most effective way, and used their internal thought leadership that they weren't tapping into, to create a media frenzy on that activity, and linking it to leads and sales teams' objectives. So yeah, that was fun because I guess it was Taiwan as well, you know. But probably in terms of campaigns that realistically had the most value is the ones where we've again integrated the design teams and the campaign teams and the demand teams and the content teams and the data teams together, and that's one where we spent maybe 6 months assessing a B2B businesses issues around conversion rates on email, and looked at the data, segmented it through k-means analysis so we could really find out where the opportunity was. Found a great opportunity for that business that they weren't tapping into, created a series of campaigns around on multiple channels, targeted the businesses based on that information, and had a huge upsell in it, in terms of it was over $100 million in upsell in that area, which was amazing, and yet so simple at the same time when you stand back and apply logic to it.
Wow. And is there any particular softwares that you use daily that really enhances your role?
Yeah, I think we use pretty much everything because we're working with so many different businesses. Each business has its own software solutions. So I guess what we're noticing in the marketplace now is a consolidation of softwares under the bigger brands. So there's obviously huge demand in Salesforce right now, but then Adobe consolidation, given the full suite of assets that has, from CMS through to a personalization engine, through to even the creative aspects of it, and then Workfront, the project management aspect now being in Adobe, is a great offering too. And then you have obviously Google, and what they have from the advertising perspective gives a great, it's probably unrivaled what they have to offer in that space.
Yeah.
But then you can have real niche skills and areas like in accessibility. I think there's a with the laws changing in that and how Europe is focusing on it following the US, I think designers and marketers need to be very conscious of getting either, depending on their business, JAWS or MVDA, talk over technologies like that so that they can test and make sure they're creating inclusive solutions for their customers, and not leaving anyone out of the marketplace.
Yeah, really well said. And looking at yourself for a second, Terry, is there any areas you're looking to upskill into, and why?
Yeah, I think my team would say I have a lot of upskilling to do. Yeah, I'm constantly trying to upskill. I think the area I'm trying to focus on at the moment is to do some CPAC exams in accessibility, given where that market is going. I'm constantly challenging myself in the data space as well, but I'm probably not getting enough time that I'd like in there, and need to find an excuse to get a private little execution project so I can just actually have some pressure on it for myself in that space. But yeah, there's pretty much, I'm in a fortunate and an unfortunate position in that I see so many different business challenges and so many different technologies and solutions in them spaces that I see an ever growing list of things that I realize that if I don't do this, I'm going to get left behind. So I need to upskill here and I need to spend some time on this. So I guess it's about prioritization of them. Challenges right now is the biggest one for me. So I'm setting myself a goal of CPAC exams in the next 6 months. So hopefully I can get that done.
Yeah, that's really good. A really good one. And where do you go for your current information? So is there any sources that you go for to learn about your marketplaces and stuff in general?
Yeah, and again, we're fortunate in that our model is design led, so we go straight into the problem space on the customer first of all, and help businesses define that and define their strategies there. So that's really a brilliant source for us to see what's happening across different industries and different sectors and different stages of their problem statement. But likewise, I spend I use the normal tools then, like I'll follow some people on Twitter. Andrew Garcia there is good for some email and campaign conversion stuff, some great stuff there. And then Gartner, Forrester reports, Everest reports, looking at CX solutions and CX problems and what the trends are in the next few years. It's a variety of all that, I think.
Brilliant. And obviously, you might be one of the best to answer this question on the show yet. But looking at the industry as a whole, is there anything, either future tech or the way certain platforms or industries are going, is there anything that really excites you that you want to talk about to our audience?
Yeah, there's a few of them. So I think for the audience of this podcast, I think the one that's most important from an Ireland and European perspective is to look at digital accessibility. So the EU has passed a series of regulations on that, and by 2025, any business with over 10 people in staff or 1 million in revenue needs to be fully digitally accessible, compliant. People often when people start to discover what that is, they'll think it's like a GDPR type regulation that there's a quick fix for, or that there's a way to get around it by viewing it as a compliance need. I would say that for marketing, accessibility improves SEO, performance, digital advertising, webinar activity, video, email, social. There's a ton of stuff in there that accessibility is actually an enabler of. And it isn't a case of just saying, yeah, I got accessibility, it's just increase the font size or change a color. No, it forces you to really think about the end user and the end user's needs, and the variety of needs that end user might have. So I would say as well, in Europe, it seems a particularly underserved market at the moment. and the market size potential is huge there. So I think that if anyone's working in marketing right now, I think about accessibility, and what that is going to mean for you in the next couple of years. And likewise, if you're on another, like, so just so people are understanding this as well from a data point of view, the White House recently reviewed its future bill on AI, and has included accessibility as a need within that space. So we hear a lot in AI and machine learning and what the team are doing about we're removing a lot of unconscious bias in AI and machine learning, but now it's going to also include accessibility as well. So I think it's a great area for everyone to be able to upskill in and learn and do the right thing by people, because it's essentially a human right, but then also drive value for their business and their career by doing that as well.
Yeah, I'm very excited by the AI potential in digital. I can see, we're probably in the next 10 years away from emails being created via AI, social posting created by AI, to some extent, putting in the right conditions and the right brand tones and voices. I'm sure that will.
Yeah, a lot of that's happening now already. Like, and fortunately, TCS have a brilliant policy on AI and machine learning, of where we try and introduce it as quick and seamlessly into a business as possible. So I think if you're a one person organization and you're out there and you're thinking, I can't do all this stuff, well, look to the technology that can do it for you. And if you're part of a big company and you're looking at AI and you're thinking, I don't have the talent and the skills available, think about how you can both integrate it into the team from a learning perspective, and how you can bring it into the team from an acquisition perspective.
Yeah.
Because AI and machine learning in the marketing space are just table stakes now. It is just gets you in the door. It's nothing really unique in the large companies that are out there.
Yeah, really well said. And lastly, Terry, we always ask this question to end the show, which is, if you could bottle up one personality trait you have yourself that you could pass on to others, what would it be?
Oh, I think there'll be a lot of people laughing at this. I'd like to think I'm quite positive and enthusiastic, and I think while them things are probably not key skills in the world, that there's a lot of soft skills that kind of go unnoticed right now, and I think if you're positive and you can find a way to find that solution and get the right outcome, and you have the enthusiasm to do it, I think it helps a lot. But I also think that I have a lot of character traits that I need to develop as well. And I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of good people who have excellent character traits in areas that I'm constantly envious of, and but also give me a lesson in what I need to change myself and develop in myself for the future growth of the team here.
Yeah, really well said. And a lovely way to end the show. Terry, if anyone wants to touch base with you, how can they get in contact with you or your company?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on terry.reilly@tcs.com. We do a number of the company, just so people understands, we're a community-led company. We give a lot of our efforts back into the community. So we're highly involved in mentorship of people within companies and individuals. So if anyone ever wants any help or an idea or a question, feel free to reach out.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Terry. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, Tom.